Hey there, Global Career Guy Brian Hutchison back for episode 54, calling this one an equity metaphor. So, as many of you that follow me know, I was at the National Career Development Summit in Washington, D.C. Yesterday on Wednesday. It started off great. I was at a round table of people before things got started. We were being introduced, and for the first time since May when I started doing Global Career Guy online, I was introduced to someone whose name I think I remember, but I did not write down. And his initial response was, "You're Global Career Guy." So glad to see that there's some recognition and some traction out there. If that gentleman, who is a school counselor in Washington, D.C., happens to watch this episode, feel free to respond below or reach out to me back channel. I'd love to do a Zoom and record the video vlog that you and I didn't get to do because I had to leave a little bit early. In reflecting on the day, I must admit, for me, things went downhill a bit from there. As most of you know, I really do a lot of work around the ideas of social justice and equity and really leveraging career and mental health to address issues of justice and equity. And I was heartened to see a panel that I think did a pretty good job with that and had a nice diverse point of view. And also a session that was titled to be about equity. The issue for me, and I think that this is an essential issue that we all that care about justice and equity must answer is, how do you think about the striving for a more just and equitable world and its interaction with capitalism, with free marketism, and particularly this idea that we call neoliberalism? And so I think that it's a completely fair statement to say that the summit itself leaned politically to the right, but that doesn't tell the story. Even on the left side of it, if there is a belief in neoliberalism, and my understanding of it, it means that we've bought into capitalism and what we're calling a free market as the solution to social problems. And so the first hint of this was the very first speaker of the day, who in his opening remarks professed how lucky we all were to live in this unassailable free market United States. And that sort of set the tone of the day for me. And it had me thinking more about my responsibility as someone who does that work to make clear statements about my belief in capitalism, what we call the free market, and whether or not it is an acceptable solution to strive for to create a more just and equitable society. And so I have a metaphor that I shared in my roundtable discussion yesterday that I'd like to share with you that I think captures it. And so I think of all of the have-nots of society. And when they don't have, it's because society does not serve them. And so I put them in a horse carriage. And this is the metaphor, by the way. And so if we want to talk about marginalized groups, oppressed groups, people of color, people living in poverty, people with disabilities, people who are sexual and gender minorities, it captures that list of people who are not getting fair and equitable treatment from the society at large. And so let's put them in a horse carriage. The problem with a neoliberal approach is that it thinks about the carrots and the sticks for the horse without thinking about the horse. And so, particularly with our education policy as an example, we think about No Child Left Behind, we think about Race to the Top, and I would call these carrot programs where it holds out an incentive that if a community, a school in this case, can meet, it gets a little bit of funding, right? It gets more funding, it gets higher scores and evaluations, it's appreciated more. Okay? And so I'll call that the carrot approach. The stick approach, I think, is more of the standardized testing part of it, which is we need to have standards where all students achieve graduation, all students have these skills, all students serve on these tests, and there's a feeling of punishment, if not in reality, in the language of putting that type of discourse out there. And so what I haven't talked about yet is the horse, right? And if you have someone in a horse carriage and you have 1,000 carrots in front of them and 1,000 sticks to hit the back of the horse, but no horse is there, you're not really making progress. The carriage is not going to go anywhere. And so for me, the horse is the component, the structural components of people's lives, communities, schools, so on and so forth. And the horse is a big animal, and I think it's scary for many of us to think about trying to change these social problems, these social conditions, and biting off too much. I think the reality is that if you don't have the horse, the carriage will go nowhere. And so yesterday, even though I thought the whole summit bent politically to the right, bent politically or philosophically very much to neoliberalism, they were actually referencing the horse. Remember the good old days when we had the GI Bill helping, when we had Pell Grants helping? Well, for me, those are horses because they are equitable social programs that are seen as part of the social good. As you can probably guess, my philosophy is that free markets are not a solution to problems of equity and justice. They may provide Band-Aid type solutions. They may provide relief for some, but they are not going to create a society that is fair and that is just. And so hopefully the metaphor of the horse carriage, the horse, the carrot, and the sticks is helpful in thinking about that. But more so, I want myself and I want all of us to feel more accountable to understanding the issues around social justice, equity, and fairness, and to see that in a market economy of the United States, but really global capitalism, we have to answer this essential question about our belief systems around whether or not that is a potential solution to strive for. A little bit longer today, but something I care deeply about and I want to be held accountable to by all of you out there. So let's keep the conversation going. Global Career Guy Brian Hutchison signing off.